Welcome to Cozy's Corner, our corner of the internet where no discussion is off limits. Here, we deep dive into interesting topics that the community wants, and together we find out about strange, mysterious, or conspiratorial topics. So grab your coffee, get nice and cozy, and let's dive in. A child who's been missing since age 9, who would be 30 years of age this year. Today, we're going to look at the tragic disappearance and an overall ask, did this system fail her? Before moving forward, I wanted to remind everyone that if you enjoy this deep dive, please remember to like the video. It helps a lot with YouTube's algorithm. Comment what you liked about it, and if you loved it, please consider subscribing. Lastly, remember to join the conversation on the Discord channel linked below. Back to the story. Asha Degree, 9 years old in the year 2000, living in Shelby, North Carolina at the time she ran away. Asha lived with her older brother, O'Brien, as well as her father and mother, Harold and Aquila. By all accounts, Asha was not an unhappy girl. Her parents were a little stricter than average, reported to be very family-focused and regular churchgoers. The family focused on three things: school, church, and family. The family didn't even have a computer to keep kids away from bad influences. February 13th, 2000, the night that Asha disappears. A very bad thunderstorm ravages that night. The kids' father, Harold, comes to check on them 3 total times. The first time at 8 p.m., both kids are in bed. Between then and the next checkup, the power goes out due to a car crash on the block. He checks again around 12:30 a.m. Kids are still in bed. And finally, one last time at 2:30 a.m. This time though, Asha's brother O'Brien said he heard a strange noise from Asha's bedroom. Harold did not decide to investigate this noise. Harold later said that Asha was terrified of dogs, and he never even considered that she'd leave that night because of that, on top of the severe thunderstorm. Unfortunately though, he was wrong. Very wrong. This is when Asha grabbed her book bag full of essentials that she had packed and left. This bag was apparently full of clothes, snacks, and other items like books from her school's library that she had checked out. Now, we are already coming, sadly, to the last time anyone had a verified sighting of Asha, not too long after she disappeared actually. Somewhere between 3:45 a.m. and 4:15 a.m. that night, truckers, along with other drivers, saw her along Highway 18 nearby. One driver reported this to the police and circled her a few times before Asha got scared and ran into the woods and disappeared for the last time. Now we go back to the Degree household the following day. Mother Aquila wakes up after getting ready and around 6:30 a.m. goes to wake her children up for the day. This is when she notices Asha is gone. After a very brief and very frantic search around the house, Asha is reported missing. Police arrive fast, 6:40 a.m. Dogs arrive on scene to help track Asha, but unfortunately to no avail. Only 20 minutes later, and the scent is completely gone. From here, the Degree family calls all of their family and friends to help search for their missing Asha. Shortly after this, they believe to have a breakthrough. Mittens are found and presumed to be Asha's. Sadly, this was not the case and was a dead end. One day later, February 15th, candy wrappers were found inside a shed of a business that Asha was seen near before running into the woods. Scarily enough, another thing was found. A portrait of a similarly aged child, one that no one in the town could identify. It's unclear how the picture of that child got there, who the child is, and what the significance of this picture could be. Take a look at a render of the picture that was recently made, upscaled from the original newspaper printing. Unfortunately, after finding no other clues, the search is called off after 9,000 man-hours of searching. Baffled, the authorities just don't understand why she would have run away. Most runaways are at least 12 and are unhappy with their home life, and obviously neither of these are true of our 9-year-old Asha. No abuse history, and although the parents were strict, authorities had zero reason to believe that the parents would have had any part in their daughter's decision. For this reason, the case has been labeled an atypical runaway. Now, on to some of the later facts and some of the sad realities. It's believed that Asha left voluntarily. It's not believed that she was coerced into leaving. More as well, authorities believe that she may have gotten lost, off track from her destination, or worst of all, abducted. In the months that followed, Asha's family appeared on many shows: Oprah, America's Most Wanted, and The Monty Williams Show. Speaking of this, I wanted to have another important conversation. A conversation revolving around some words Aquila shared in a 2015 interview with Jet Magazine. Something that I think is extremely relevant and unfortunately still rings true today. To quote directly from the Jet Magazine interview, "Missing white children get more attention. I don't understand why. I don't try to speculate. I know if you ask them, they'll say it's not really racial. Oh really? I'm not going to argue because I have common sense." Let me tell you that this is both wholeheartedly true in my research and unfortunately is so prevalent in the United States and other countries like us that it even has its own name and wiki article. It's called the missing white woman syndrome. Defined as a term that's used by social scientists that refers to the extensive media coverage, especially in television, of missing person cases involving young white women and girls. It's later been expanded to cover pretty much all other violent crimes. Additionally, not only is this the case, but it even creates differences in the coverage of the news. Black women are more likely to be spoken about as if they have problems with their troubled past, while white women coverage tends to focus on their familial ties and other heartstring tugging things. This is another subtle way we see the discrimination between those of color and white people. This is another unfortunate, true, and documented thing that needs to change as we move towards the future. And to be honest with you, I'm one person, and I really can't change shit about the total grand scheme of things. But what I can do, and what I'm going to do, is provide fair, balanced, and unbiased reporting of cases, no matter the skin color of the individual. Black lives matter, no less than any others. I'll try to do my best, moving forward, to support this growing movement towards true racial equality in the best way I can, starting with covering this unfortunate disappearance. With that being said, let's get back to Asha, and let's get back to understanding where we were in our story. Last about this case, we were talking about the months after her disappearance, and unfortunately the sparse media coverage that this girl got. As we know, she rightfully deserved, just as any other person would be, to be plastered on the media on every source. Sadly, this trend continued through the remainder of the year. The next news that we have on this case is on August 3rd, 2001. A whole year later. Asha's book bag was found near Highway 18 near a construction site. Chillingly, her bag was found 26 whole miles from her original familial residence. It was found plastic wrapped as if it was to be protected for someone collecting it later. Who would have plastic wrapped this in the first place? I can say that I sincerely doubt that Asha would have done this herself. Found inside this bag was a few things. Firstly, a Dr. Seuss book from her school's library, and secondly, a kid-sized New Kids on the Block shirt. A shirt that did not belong to Asha. A shirt that we still have no idea 20 years later where it comes from. Unfortunately, this case went essentially cold for a very long time. Lots of dead ends, prank tip-offs, and unusable information had been given to investigators time and time again. Skip forward 14 whole years to 2015. This case starts a re-examination and re-interviewing of key witnesses with fresh eyes. Additionally, the authorities in the area announced a $25,000 reward for information leading to finding Asha. As of 2016, with the FBI's involvement, police announced that Asha may have been seen that night getting into a green 70s Lincoln Continental or Ford Firebird of the same era, with rust near the wheel well. It's unclear why this wasn't released earlier, but it is possible that this was not credible or was actually plain new information from a new source. That brings us to October of 2018. The case is now being handled by Cleveland County, and that's North Carolina, not Ohio, Detectives Branch, and the FBI branch that's nearby. This small team sent an appeal out to the public for more information, pleading that anything is critical and no detail is too small. That brings us to the very recent, in 2020. Asha's mother, Aquila, on the 20th anniversary of the disappearance of her daughter, said that she truly believes Asha is still out there alive somewhere. She believes that in her heart, a 9-year-old can't just vanish without a trace and no one know where she is. Unfortunately, that's all the information that we have on this case. This case is still being investigated to this day, and police and the FBI are still looking for credible tips, no matter how big or small they may be. Where does that leave us? With questions. Questions really without a lot of answers. Why did she leave? Well, there's a few theories here. Firstly, is it possible that she was groomed by a predator? Like I stated earlier, her parents didn't even have a household computer, so it would be really unlikely. Although it would explain the clothes that didn't belong to her in the backpack, and it would also explain that mysterious picture that was found in the shed with Asha where she was spotted. Last on this theory, with the photo of the other child that we saw earlier never being officially released to the public, it's possible that someone who would know something just hasn't seen it yet. Here's hoping that this gets released and we can put this part of the rumors to rest. Secondly, and something that I find equally as outlandish, Asha was the starting point guard on our school's basketball team. The night before she left, Asha and the team had taken a loss. The theory goes on to state that she took this loss greatly to heart and left because of it. Her brother O'Brien reportedly had stated in regards to this possibility that not even an hour after the game, it's like she had already forgotten about the loss and was back to being her cheerful and usual self. Thirdly, and last, that Asha had unfortunately got lost in the days that followed her running away in the woods, and once lost, she had unfortunately perished to the elements trying to escape back to civilization. Unfortunately, besides that, there's no new information that we have to report. And that about wraps up this deep dive. If you happen to know any information on the disappearance of Asha, please follow the link to the email or the phone number in the description. One can only hope that she is still out there safe and that she will be returning home one day soon. If there's anything that I missed, please feel free to mention it in the comments below. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like button, and if you loved it, please consider subscribing. Lastly, if you want to discuss this or any other future videos, please consider joining the Discord channel linked below. On this Discord channel, we have civil conversations about any of the topics that we've covered on this channel, as well as take suggestions on what you want us to cover. The goal of this channel is to cover topics that you want me to cover. I would love to be able to deep dive into a case that the community finds interesting and hopefully shed some new light onto it. Thanks for coming to Cozy's Corner, and good night, friends.